Kira, Tanakusikata, to everyone who is listening to me, and thanks so much for this opportunity. This presentation is on Te Pae Oranga Evaluation and Assessing Alternative Resolutions Program in New Zealand. And this presentation is a preliminary finding of the recent evaluation we've just had of the Te Pae Oranga program. So I'll be presenting basically a brief presentation on the Te Pae Oranga program, and again in the context of the evaluation we've just conducted. So the Te Pae Oranga program was previously known as the Hiwi Community Panel, and it's a supported resolution program for low-level offenses, usually offenses that would carry a maximum of 6 months jail sentence, and designed along Kaupapa Māori paradigm. The program offers to address the root causes of crimes by offering to support individuals who have accepted responsibility for an offense committed. And broadly, the program has been accepted by participating Hiwi and community, Iwi and Maori community partners. So the procedure for the program: after an individual has been arrested for an offense that meets the eligibility criteria, the participant is offered a choice to either attend the panel or have the matter referred to the court. So following acceptance by the participant or by the individual who has committed the offense, the frontline officer refer the individual to the supported resolution officer in that particular district. So subsequently, the SR officer helps the individual to navigate the panel hearing should there be capacity. In circumstances where the individual failed to attend to a panel or deny the offense or fail to cooperate with the panel by not doing what the panel has requested, the individual will be referred back to the police, and subsequently decisions what to do with the individual will be decided by the respective officers. So this approach is actually designed to reduce the man and police resources and also court workloads, especially in processing low-level offenses. It is also designed to reduce the rate of reoffending and harm caused by individuals who have attended the panel. For this evaluation, it became important for the executive leadership team of the New Zealand Police to try and understand and seek insight into the Te Pae Oranga program, particularly after the adoption of the formal written warning, which was introduced by on May 1st of May 2020, part of the intervention practices due to the pandemic. So basically, the formal written warnings had very close eligibility criteria with the Te Pae Oranga program. So it's assumed that the referral, especially the declining referrals to the Te Pae Oranga program, may have been caused by the adoption of the formal written warning. So it becomes important to try and seek insight and to understand the impact at which the formal written warning is having on the Te Pae Oranga program. So for this evaluation, our primary objectives was to evaluate the effectiveness of the TPO program following the uptake of the formal written warnings, and also to determine if declining referrals to the Te Pae Oranga program and qualifying offenses may be as a result of the formal written warning. The main questions that we were faced with was how, if at all, did the uptake of the practice of formal written warning affected the rate of referrals to the Te Pae Oranga program. So based on this question, we conducted an extensive consultation with the respective stakeholders that were identified at the beginning of the evaluation, and at the same time, we also be able to define what the outcome measures of the program in terms of reoffending, in terms of a reduction in the harm caused by individuals who have attended the panel. So we decided that two main approach in terms of method was actually appropriate in the context of the questions and objectives of this evaluation. And one of those methods is the pre-test, post-test comparative design. And basically, based on the data that's been collected before the intervention program was introduced, which is a formal written warning, we felt this method provides an analysis of the observable changes in the referral rates to the Te Pae Oranga program based on the pattern of referral in a 4-month period before the intervention program was introduced and a 4-month period after the intervention program was introduced. And to complement that, the descriptive analysis was also adopted to explore the trends and the observable changes in the rate of referrals to the Te Pae Oranga program at the same period in time. So for the sake of this presentation, I'm just going to focus on the part of the factors that we considered for the two cohorts. That's the pre-test and the post-test cohort. So again, just as a reminder, the pre-test cohort, we considered 4 months 4-month period before the intervention program was introduced on 1st of May 2020. So we looked at about 4 months after the program was introduced. That's from May to August. And we look at the same time in the year before then. Ideally, the most appropriate method should have been to look at the 4 months before, but as again, because this was in the there was a pandemic, so the data being collected at that time will be affected by the pandemic, and again, some of these the panel sites were actually not operating. So some of those attributes that we considered to ensure that we are actually comparing apples with apples was to look at the mean age. So for the control and the treatment group, they were about just over 30 years of age, and the percentage of male participants for the program was about 68.8 in the control group, and for the treatment group was about 65.2. Again, that's quite close to each other. When we look at the percentage of female participants, that was about 31.1% for the control group and about 34.5% for the treatment group. Again, that's just over 30% of the overall volume of participants. And if you look at a ratio of male to female, that was about 1.1 to 2. So for every sorry, that should be 2 to 1. So from every 2 male who have attended the program, there was a female participant. And in terms of individuals or young offenders or individuals who are less than 25, they made up about 41% of the control cohort, and in the treatment group, they were about 38%. Percentage participants of Maori who have, individuals with Maori ethnicity who have attended the program in the control group was about 43.7%, and in the treatment group, about 49.9%. Again, all both groups are less than 50% of the overall volume of participants. And looking at individuals, young offenders who are of Maori ethnicity, about 15.74% of the control group and about 18.5%. Overall, percentage of closed cases was about 99.9% in the control group and about 82.2% for the treatment group. Overall, in terms of results, we looked at 3 main measures. Firstly, we look at the referral rate, and we also look at overall completion rate, and we also looked at what the insight is telling us in terms of the impact of the formal written warnings on the individuals with Maori ethnicity. So in terms of results for the referral rate, we were able to identify that prior to the intervention program, there was actually a decline in the referral rates to the Te Pae Oranga program. And subsequently, after the intervention program was introduced on the 1st of May 2020, there seems to be an increase in the referral rates to the program. Before the intervention was introduced, or before the decline, observed decline was actually commenced, we actually noticed that there seems to be some reduction in terms of referrals. However, that was affected due to some seasonal factors, primarily Christmas, because a lot of the panel sites over the districts, along the districts, were actually would normally close by this time. So you would expect very few referrals or very few of those panels that are actually in operations. So overall, in terms of referral rate, the results indicate that there is no statistical basis to suggest that the uptake of formal written warning alone significantly impacted the overall referral to panel hearing across the participating district. So we feel, based on the data and based on the insights, that there may be other external factors that are actually affecting the program apart from the formal written warnings. Some of those factors included the effect of the COVID-19 and also restrictions introduced in New Zealand, and changes to those restrictions in terms of alert levels needs to be factored as part of the underlying factors that might have affected or impacted the referral rates to the Te Pae Oranga program. Another measures or outcomes that we also, in terms of results, was to look at the overall completion rates between the two cohorts, that's the control and the treatment. And we also looked at that across these districts. And what the insight is actually telling us was that there's no significant impact costs on the overall completion rates by the individuals referred to the Pae Oranga program in the majority of the district following the uptake of formal written warnings. However, there was a marginal difference being observed, which was plus or minus 9%, depending on what districts you look at. But that's for the overall district. However, there were some few districts here in New Zealand, or few cities, I would say, like in Rotorua, in Northlands, and also in Gisborne, where we noticed a significant increase in the number of, in the completion rates in the completion rate of participants to of the Te Pae Oranga program. So we felt, to an extent, there seems to be a variation in terms of the completion rate across the entire district. We also noticed some very few districts where there was an observed decline in the completion rate, particularly in Hastings, where there was a decrease of about 16% in the overall completion rate. As we also concluded in the referral rate, there is no statistical basis to suggest that the decline or the variations that we've identified in all the districts or in all the cities were actually caused or necessitated by the uptake of formal written warning. Considering the impact on ethnic distribution, that's we considered five main ethnic distribution of participants. So for Maori, for individuals with Maori ethnicity, before and after the intervention program, there seems to be an increase in the number of individuals who are referred to the program from Maori ethnicity. The overall result, so the main key findings here was that one, the evaluation observed an apparent decline in the overall volume of referrals to the Te Pae Oranga program following the introduction of formal written warning. However, the findings suggested that the introduction of the formal written warning is only a part of the underlying factors that may account for this decline. Findings also suggested that enormous opportunity exists to expand the participation of this supported resolution program, as only a maximum of 6% of all eligible offences are actually referred to TPO. That's the Te Pae Oranga program. And again, we also observe inconsistencies in the decision-making process and adherence to the eligibility criteria by frontline officers in the decision-making process in determining who gets referred to the Te Pae Oranga program. So these inconsistencies in the decision-making process and adherence to the eligibility criteria created some noise and some systemic bias identified in the data collection process. And finally, the findings also indicated an absence of a reliable tracking mechanism to track referrals and the progress of referrals across the country. The effect of that is that this created a gap in identifying changes that may require corrective measures and prevent decline in referrals in real time. Going forward, in terms of recommended solution and that we, based on the insights and the findings from the evaluation, we recommended the development of a national quality assurance process, which has been endorsed by the hierarchy of the New Zealand Police, and this has been recommended for implementation in the medium to long-term plan, and also the development of an effective structure and increased capacity of referrals. As I suggested, only a maximum of 6% across all districts of TPO eligible offences actually makes it to TPO. So we felt that if we put an effective structures in place, then we can tap, based on the benefits and the opportunities from the number of referrals. And also, we also recommended a development of a national database for use and owned by New Zealand Police. And this is expected to standardize TPO referrals and data collection process across the districts. And this recommendation will be implemented in the medium to long-term plans. And also the development of a decision-making support tool, which will ensure that TPO and other supported resolution programs are a viable option, was recommended and endorsed and this is expected to be implemented in the short to medium term. And finally, a test of practices and procedures using a randomized control trial was recommended, and this has also been endorsed. And currently, we are at the planning and consultation phase for this implementation of this randomized control trial approach to the program evaluation. So finally, this presentation is made by permission by the Maori Pacific Ethnic Services of the New Zealand Police, and I also want to use this opportunity to thank the Director, Mike McLean, and Program Manager, Inspector Clint Walker, who have supported the evaluation of this program in various capacity. The full report of this evaluation is available by request and further consideration of the Evidence-Based Policing Center here in Wellington. And also special opportunity to thank the Director, Simon Williams, and my manager, Simon Welsh, who have provided tremendous support during the evaluation phase, during the evaluation of this supported resolution program. Thank you very much.
Femi, thank you very, very much. I'm joined here by Superintendent Anuru Te Whairangi. He's on there again now, and we'll also see members of the Māori Responsiveness team at New Zealand Police and Ngāpiri Mana o Aotearoa join us soon as well online, hopefully, as we open up for further questions and discussion. And Anuru, I'll come to you for your thoughts. And Femi, we'll just get you to hold just in case Anuru or anyone else might have some questions they want to put to you. But Anuru, your thoughts first of all.
Oh, tēnā koe te tuakana, Femi. It's great to hear you talking about Te Pae Oranga with the passion that you have done this afternoon. So look, well done, first of all. So clearly I'm a fan of Te Pae Oranga, and certainly really interested and curious around the future.
Sorry, if you can hear me, I can't hear you.
Oh.
Okay.
Surely interested to hear about the future of Te Pae Oranga research that will enable us practically to have conversations with our colleagues across the organisation around that decision making that you spoke about, so that we can really utilise Te Pae Oranga to its full capability and capacity. So it really encouraged, and I'm curious to see my two colleagues up there on the screen. I'll come to you, Will and Herbie Ngāwhika, on the screen there, perhaps for your thoughts around Te Pae Oranga.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora, Anuru. So I'm from the Pae Oranga district, based in Rotorua, and with Te Pae Oranga there. Look, probably one of the biggest issues I call it an issue that we're having in Pae Oranga or in Rotorua is in terms of referrals. We have the number of those who are eligible for referrals compared to those who actually get referred. So there's a disparity gap there still. It is an issue that we are working on, and my thinking is that that comes back to a couple of factors, one being processes, which I know is coming through Te Ara Whānui, but I probably think the most significant factor we have to consider is mindset of our staff, working on a mindset to put supported resolutions, make it the norm, prosecution, make that the alternative. That's the big mindshift change that we're trying to bring in, because, and I throw this a little example out here, just a small one. I know for our new recruits that come out of college, our new constables, part of they have to complete workplace assessments. One of those assessments is how to prepare a prosecution file. My question would be, do we have something similar for preparing something for alternative resolutions or supported resolutions, putting that ahead of a prosecution file? So that's the part I put back out there at the moment. Kia ora.
Come on, Herbie, Will, and then we'll come back to Femi. We'll come back to Femi after you, Will, to potentially answer that question if he's got some thoughts on that. But first of all, to you, Will.
Kia ora Rami. Ngā mihi ki te kaupapa. I think we all really appreciate and value the depth of work that you and your team have put into Te Pae Oranga, and I think from our people, tangata whenua and other vulnerable parts of our community really appreciate that mahi as well. So kia ora. I know yesterday, Rami, we talked around the crime harm index, and we said that, offences are given a weighting multiplied by the number of offences. Offence codes are given a weighting multiplied by the types and number of offences gives us a crime harm index. Te Pae Oranga is trying to keep our people and our vulnerable out of the criminal justice pipeline. Have you had any research that shows that's working for our vulnerable? Would be my first question. And my second question would be, how do you see Te Pae Oranga evolving so that it can capture more than just those low-end, entry-level offences that, disproportionately affect Māori?
Ka pai. Femi, can we get your answer to those questions?
Oh, thank you very much. Well, I didn't get the first questions from the first speaker. I had a bit of a break, but I got the two questions from the last speaker. So basically, looking at the New Zealand crime index and how that itself affected, if there are studies relating to the current evaluations of the Pae Oranga program. So what we're doing in response to that, basically, I think, like I did mention, this is a preliminary evaluation of the Pae Oranga program, and going forward, what we intend to do is to be able to design a methodological framework, because this current evaluation itself has some lapses, some limitations in terms of the, based on the data that is currently being collected. So we felt that we need a much more robust methodology going long term. So, and one of the ways that we are trying to address that challenge first is to be able to look at the data that were being collected and see how we can integrate that with other attributes, that might help. For instance, we are thinking of speaking with Statistics New Zealand and be able to collect some other data so that we can be able to identify main benefits of the program and putting into context some of the socioeconomic backgrounds of the participants of the program. Then going forward, how does that itself, how does Maori individuals with Maori ethnicity, how do they benefit more from the program? Well, I think that's a question primarily for MPES, but I'm not speaking for them, but I do know for a fact that there's been a refresh of the Te Pae Oranga program, basically to expand capacity across the districts. And there have been new districts also coming up. I think there's some new districts already planned for the next 12 months. So I think that itself would expand participation, and more importantly, would also expand opportunities for individuals across all ethnic groups to be able to participate. But particularly for Maori, I think the insights and the data are telling us that this is actually working. I've had the opportunity of visiting one of the panel, and I could see that this is possibly the future of supported resolution program in New Zealand. And I think this, beyond New Zealand, this would have impact to how supported resolution programs are approached in other countries, particularly the countries where there are very strong indigenous communities. So I think this is quite a very productive effort by the New Zealand police. And the insights obviously are telling us that we can expand our capacity. Yeah.
Ka pai, Femi. Thank you very much for that answer. Thank you to Will and Herbie. Thank you both for participating as well. Appreciate your thoughts and also the questions that you put to Femi as well. And thank you, Andrew, for joining us. We did have other questions coming in as well, Femi, so there is a lot of interest in what you've been doing with this program. So thank you very much for that presentation and for your work as well.